Right, 2 to go. 2 tasks to go, even though it's a couple of things. Components with known vulnerabilities. Occasionally you may find that the company or entity that you're pen testing is using a program that already has a well-documented vulnerability. For example, let's say a company hasn't updated their version of WordPress for a few years. Using a tool such as WP Scan, you can find out that it's version 4.6. Some quick research will reveal that 4.6 is vulnerable to an unauthenticated remote code execution exploit. Even better, you can find the exploit already made on ExploitDB. There we go. As you can see, this would be quite devastating because it requires very little work on the part of the attacker, as oftentimes, since the vulnerability is already well known, someone else has made an exploit for the vulnerability. The situation becomes even worse when you realise that it's really quite easy for this to happen. If a company misses a single update for the program that they use, you could be vulnerable to any number of attacks. Hence why OWASP has rated this a 3, meaning high, on the prevalence scale, and is incredibly easy for the company to miss an update for an application. Recall that since this is about known vulnerabilities, most of the work has already been done for us. Our main job is to find out if the information of the software and research it until we can find an exploit. Let's go through that with an example web application.
Yes and no.
Yes and no what? You mean this thing? Like in terms of prevalence? Or easy to miss?
A good portion of some companies that use out-of-date versions do so without leveraging the vulnerable functions, thus still gets reduced to a medium because it's not exploitable.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that is a very good point. Some people tend to sort of err on the side of caution, don't they? It's just like, if you think when you're searching for it, the only thing you can do is really search for version numbers. So like, you're vulnerable if that version's found, not if you're actually using it or not. It's a lot harder from like a risk management perspective to see if a vulnerable thing is being used, but not the specific thing that's causing the vuln. Like, how do you test for that?
Well, that's the role as a pen tester.
Mm-hmm.
To validate the findings.
Yeah. To hack the planet.
Most frameworks will disclose the versions in the console window.
Yeah. But then if you wanted to say, so you'd have to then validate the finding manually, just to prove that it wasn't being used.
jQuery will usually spit out what active version is running.
Right, what we're doing. So we read that bit. What do you know? This server is using the default page for the Nostromo web server. Now that we have the version number and software name, we can use exploitDB to try and find an exploit for this particular version. exploitDB is incredibly useful. For all you beginners are going to be using this a lot, it's best to get comfortable with it. So, have a look at that.
MSec says.
Web link.
And if no one has seen this before, for fuck's sake, cyber.
Says.
I'm lazy, so I exploit you.
If no one's seen CyberChef before, have a look at that.
MSec says.
Web link.
Use exploit DB, find an exploit for this version. So, Nostromo 16196. Remote code execution. I love how they always like cherry pick the RCEs, like you never get this lucky. Yeah, just hurry up and expire. Right, lucky us, the top result happens to be an exploit script. Let's download it and get the code execution. Running this script on its own actually teaches us a very important lesson. It may not work the first time, it helps to have an understanding of the programming language that the script is in. So that if needed you can fix any bugs or make any modifications, as quite a few scripts on exploitdb expect you to make modifications. Fortunately for us, the error was caused by a line that should have been commented, so it's an easy fix. Fixing that, let's try and run the program again. Boom, we have RCE. Now it's important for us to note that most scripts will just tell you what arguments you need to provide. Exploit developers will rarely make you read potentially hundreds of lines of code just to figure out how to use the script. It's also worth noting that it may not always be this easy. Sometimes you'll be given a version number like this, like in this case, but other times you may need to dig through the HTML source or even take a lucky guess on exploit script. But realistically, if it's a known vulnerability, there are probably ways to discover what version the application is running. That's really it. The great thing about this piece for the OWASP 10 is that the work is pretty much already done for us. We just need to do some basic research, and as a pen tester you're already doing that quite a bit. Right, lab. Oh, for fuck's sake. Terminate. I'm nearly done, 94%. The following is a vulnerable application. All information you need to exploit it can be found online. When you find the exploit script, put all your input in quotes, for example, ID. How many characters are in ECT password? Use WC/C ECT password to get the answer. So we've just got to wait for it to start. What was the we up yet? Project Worlds. So it's going to be PHP. Is this WordPress? Is it? No. Is it WordPress admin.php? Just Bootstrap. jQuery 2.1. Sites were made using PHP MySQL procedure. Admin login. So obviously they like offer something. When you find the exploit script, I mean, it's either going to be PHP or MySQL, but which one? Not doing something like that, is it? Longer block of text helpers. So that. Empty book, okay. So yeah, it's doing empty book. MySQL. I thought I might be on a winner there. Publisher. Let's try the hint. What's it suggest? Check for recent unauthenticated bookstore app RCEs. Doesn't really help. Oh, CSE. Okay, so is that the thing? So CSE Bookstore is the app. I thought that was just like, because this is just a bootstrap, like navbar, isn't it? So this is just text. I thought. CSE. So we search for CSE Bookstore. We got the SQL injection, auth bypass, cross-site scripting. These are quite recent as well, 2020. ebook cart. Admin verified. Okay, so if we're using Tiberius's exploit, so we need to do like a reverse shell effectively. Shell, web shell uploaded to
Paladog says.
Maybe try scanning with Grabber?
could do if I knew what Grabber was. Did that even... Oh yeah, which one did I get? 47887. That one. Let's get rid of that one. Four, 7, 8, and 7. Oh yeah, you're out. Has it got me in quotes? Maybe not. Eh? Oh, there you go. Yes. Right, so what was the question? How many characters are in the etc password? Use WC C etc password. Twat. 66. Yay.